Hey, what's up? It's your girl Pika out here in Singapore, and I just finished a live class on Instagram with my cousin Avina. We were talking about rejection and what that looks like because lately we've been talking about how to draw boundaries and speak up for what you want and what you don't want, communication in general, and rejection is one of those things. But even then, right, there are so many aspects of life in general that we could go on talking about, but I wanted to jump on to the podcast and talk to you about this one, the opponent from within. So, I had a conversation with one of my girlfriends a couple of days ago now. I think it was like Sunday night, Saturday night, something. I don't know. We had a conversation. I think it was Sunday morning. That's what it was. It's only yesterday, and I feel like it was a couple of days ago. Look at this. I'm having trouble, y'all. Okay. So the point is, I had a conversation. It was a great conversation, and we talked about a great many things. During the course of the conversation, I realized something. People will see the same lesson in the people around them over and over again until they learn the lesson. Once you learn how to see another person, recognize a lesson popping up again, you know how to handle it because it's outside of yourself. It's another entity that represents the problem. Eventually, the highest level of that is you need to be able to recognize the problem within yourself. For example, let me see if I can put this into words that might actually make a little sense. Let's say that you have trouble setting a boundary, saying no to somebody. Okay, so perhaps you get into a relationship, you really like the person, you want to impress them. Anytime they give you a situation or put you in a situation where you're not comfortable, you don't say, no, I don't like this, I don't want to be a part of this, I'd rather not be, I'd rather not participate. Instead of saying that, you don't because you want to preserve the relationship. Time and time again, you find yourself in this situation, and eventually you learn how to say no to the person, right? So you've learned how to come up against an opponent outside of yourself as another entity, as another person, and you're able to stand your ground. At some point, you will find that you have to confront the person, the voices inside of your head. You're going to have to confront them and do the same thing. So where I might have learned the lesson of how to set a boundary with, let's say, my cousins or my parents or my best friend or my boyfriend, I might be able to set the boundary, the expectation for them. At some point, I'm going to have to do that for myself. Now, that's something I'm learning to do right now. Okay. I have a very bad habit of giving myself excuses not to do things. I should be working out. Give myself an excuse for why I shouldn't right now. Maybe I'm on my period. Maybe I just ate. I can't work out right now. I gotta wait a little bit. So then that turns into like a long time, right? I put it off for a lot longer. Maybe it's something that I have a project going on and I need to sit down in front of this computer and do work on my project. But oh yeah, by the way, I forgot I needed to clean the kitchen. I need to do all these things. So where I did at one level of my growth, of my emotional intelligence path, at one point, I learned that I had to say no to the people in front of me. The next level of that is I need to be able to keep myself disciplined. I need to be able to say no to all of my silly impulses and all of my sidetrack distractions, all of that in order to stay on point. And that's where I am right now. This is what I mean by the opponent within you. It's easier to fight somebody when they stand in front of you. A lot of times we don't even recognize when we should be putting our foot down for ourselves, when we should be taking a stand for ourselves. A lot of times we fight or ignore the fact that we need to stand up and do something. We give in to all of our simpler urges, our simpler desires. Yeah, who doesn't want to sit in front of a TV and veg out for hours on end? But if you got work to do, you still got work to do. And chances are, if you sit on a binge for Netflix, right? When you get out of the binge, you probably have 3 times the amount of work to sit down and do because you've let it pile up. So how do you find a way to discipline yourself? How do you find a way to stand in front of the mirror and be like, nope, you're not bullshitting yourself today, you're going to get this done? And I've talked about parts of this before, right? Yes, you need people to motivate you. Yes, you need people around you who are kind of doing something with their life too. So you feel like, yeah, I should be doing something with my life as well. It's encouragement. They're doing, I should do as well. And at some point, you're going to look at pictures, you're going to look at quotes, you're going to find something inspirational, and yes, you're going to feel like you're going to do something. And some days, the inspiration doesn't work. Some days you look at your friends, you're like, you know what? They can have all that. I don't want none of that. Some days, You don't want to get up and feed yourself because it takes effort to get to the fridge and put things on a plate and warm it up. It's like that sometimes. And in those cases, I've talked to you about this, in those cases, you got to force yourself. You got to force yourself to sit down and do it for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Look at it. Open up the file. Look at whatever it is you're supposed to be doing. And somehow or another, you will find yourself getting into the groove of actually working. But for that to even happen, you need to tackle the voices inside your head. You need to tackle all of your willpower. Make sure it's all in the right place. You can't give in to all these these distractions, the urge to just sit and sloth out for a while. You can't do all of that. You got to fight yourself sometimes. I don't know how many times I've started this 100 Days of Fit challenge and how many times I've stopped it. We're only on day 30. I've been counting because the rest of my group is doing okay, but I'm not doing that great. And to be honest, I can't figure out why. Okay, let me be very, very transparent. It's not that I can't figure out why. I haven't sat down to figure out why. I haven't sat down to decide what I believe about working out, what it is that I want to achieve, and how I'm going to get there. I have not taken those steps. I've just said, oh yeah, 100 days, I'm going to do 100 days. Yeah, right. I've started a lot. I have not completed doing things in order. And for some reason, right now, that is like the sticking point. That is the underlying theme for all of my lessons. I need to fight myself to get this discipline thing down. When I was little, it was easy. My mom yelled at me. She said, do this or else. And it was easy then because I was being forced. She was in charge of my discipline. She disciplined me. I'm not equipped to be an adult, you guys. I need to discipline myself. Okay, I'm lying. I'm totally playing. Yes, I'm equipped to handle myself because I do have a child that I'm equipped to handle as well. But sometimes I feel like I do so much that I just want to stop doing anything at all. But I can't afford to do that, you see. Because with this big dream of mine and all these hopes and wishes that I have, these ideas that I have floating around in my head, if I don't do something about them, someone's going to get to it before I do. Guaranteed. This is why I keep saying, just put in the action. Just go with it. Do something. Don't let the time go by. The time goes by really fast. If you don't keep an eye on it, the time goes by very quickly. When you're watching, the time takes forever, right? But when you're not watching the time, when you're doing something else, the time flies by. The enemy is not always outside. It doesn't have a different face. Sometimes it's your face. Sometimes it's you that you need to tackle. And that's the hardest lesson for me. I have had moments where I just drive myself over and over and over again. I will stay up late, wake up early, stay up late, wake up early, and I'll get stuff done. But then the flip side of that is at some point what goes up must come down, and I crash. And when I crash, it's a couple of days. And so instead of steady momentum, I have like push, plateau. And then I push again, then plateau again. It's easier to get up and fight, to stand your ground when it's someone else in front of you. To fight your own mind, your own willpower, the strength of your decisions. That's a different problem entirely. And that's something that has to come from within. That's something that has to come from a habit of some sort. When I teach people about the 6 human needs, and yes, it's a Tony Robbins thing, right? But I love it because it means so much to me. When I teach people that a lot of people are under the impression that they want variety. A lot of people are shocked when they find out, you know what? I wouldn't be able to function if I didn't have this, and this in place. I need that stability. I need to know that certain things in my life are predictable. I need to know that my alarm is going to go off every morning at this time. I need to know that baby girl, she's going to be in school from this time to this time. And in that space of time, it's up to me what I do with my life, but it's mine. That's my time. I get to work on my life. And then when she comes home, it's about her again. It's about her homework. It's about how she, spends the time. Does she need to go down and run around the playground? Whatever. And I've been really bad about that lately. And I know it's essential to my life to have a schedule right now because my life is out of whack. I feel like it's not working the way that it could be because I haven't been paying attention. I haven't been setting up a new schedule as things change. I don't like change all that much. I mean, I do and I don't. I don't make plans because I know what happens when I make plans. I tend to end up late to everything. So I make so that it's kind of fluid. But if I don't have the plan in the first place, like for instance, if I didn't have the fact that I have an 8 p.m. class that I teach with Avina every Monday, I wouldn't make sure that once I get off that I go to sleep for a couple hours and then wake up in time to do a 2 a.m. podcast episode with August Crenshaw on Facebook Live. Monday's tough for me. But if I didn't know those things were happening, I wouldn't have a mile marker for what I need to do next. It's almost like once I get through Monday, I know that the rest of the week it belongs to me. I really can make sure that everything else goes by smoothly. But that's also because I need to have that plan. Mondays are generally my meal prep day. My meal prep time comes in and he comes and picks up his food, and I need to make sure that everything that I've cooked for him is ready to go by the time he comes to pick it up, and then I have my class, and then I have my podcast episode, and then I sleep. And then I get up in the morning and do school all over again. It's just like that. But if I didn't have that schedule, I'm pretty sure I'd be lost at sea. I'd be doing whatever I feel like whenever I feel like it, and probably bits and pieces of it instead of making sure that all of it happens on time, in time, with a deadline attached. You see, right now in this level of emotional intelligence, I'm learning more about me. Before it was about how to communicate with everyone around me, how to acknowledge what people are going through, how to understand what they might be feeling in certain situations, how to lend a hand, how to be there for them. And now, it's all about how do I manage myself when I have no one keeping track of me. When I don't have to go punch a clock and have a boss tell me what to do. I'm the boss. I have to tell myself what's important and what's not important. Where am I going to focus my energy today? What am I going to get accomplished? Those are the things I need to focus on right now. And I tell you what, it's hard. And I don't like doing it. It's been so much easier when there's someone else doing it and I can push back on them. It's easier when you have a different face to deal with. When you have to deal with your own mind, it's scary. You give up a lot more than you win battles. Sometimes you don't want to start that fight at all. I was listening to a young lady who was talking about it took her 5 hours to get out of bed today. I can't imagine what that feels like, but I know sometimes it takes me 5 hours to get anything done. I know that feeling. And not because I was, entirely busy. Not because I had a bunch of appointments, but because I just couldn't get my ass to sit and focus. I know what that's like. So think about that. Once you learn who you are and what you like, once you learn how to communicate with people and tell them what you prefer, once you learn how to manage other people's emotions and not let it affect you, that last lap is about how you live your life when you don't have anyone to answer to. If you had the whole house to yourself for an entire weekend, what would you do? Would you go after your dream? Would you get drunk and sleep the whole weekend away? What would you do? If you had no one dependent on you, no one you had to answer to, and you had the house to yourself the entire weekend, what would you do? And that's a serious question. Think about that for a little bit. At some point, we need to master our minds. And yeah, there are levels to this. You do it bit by bit. But eventually you get there. You have to master your mind. And I tell you what, it's been satisfying and grueling at the same time. So if you need help, please reach out. And until the next time, I hope you have a great week ahead. Night.